Briefcase Crimes contains graphic depictions of violent acts, bad jokes, and loud dog noises. It's not intended for all audiences, and listener discretion is advised. Welcome, listeners, to Briefcase Crimes. I'm Hannah, and I'm full of terrifying facts about horrific events.
I'm Liz, and I'm full of morbid curiosity.
Elizabeth.
Hannah.
I want you to know, I almost didn't pick this case, but then I did, because I couldn't help myself.
Okay.
It is just a little bit similar to one that we've done before.
Okay.
And you'll see why later. But I couldn't help myself.
It better be good.
I am a sucker, clearly, for cases such as these. So I'm going to start our story on August 22nd, 1922.
Okay.
We are in the city of Los Angeles, California, Hollywood, the city of angels.
Okay.
Neighbors hear and report gunshots coming from the home of Fred and Dolly Oestrreich.
Wow.
I did a little bit of research into that surname. I found 4 different translations, or 4 different pronunciations, rather.
It literally looks like I just smashed my keyboard, though.
A little bit. So I've heard it Oesterreich, Oestrreich, Oestrreich, and Oestrreich.
Okay.
And I believe that all 4 of those pronunciations are wrong. So, based on my knowledge of German, which is mainly my knowledge of Swedish,
right?
So Germanic languages, I feel like that OE sound should be an Oesterreich. So I'm going to say Oestrreich.
Yeah, I would guess that that's more correct.
Because I'm not, as much as I love speaking different languages, I'm not going to do that. The heavy Germanness.
Every time.
I'm going to speak it with an American accent.
Sounds
good. The police come to the home of the Oesterreichs, and they find Fred, the husband, dead on the floor from 3 gunshot wounds.
Oh, wow.
His diamond watch is missing.
Mm-hmm.
And his wife, Dolly, is slumped on the floor of the closet, and the door was locked. So they had to break into the closet to get Dolly, who's slumped on the floor. Dolly says there was a robbery.
Mm-hmm.
They took all these expensive things, including my husband's diamond watch. We're very wealthy. Then they shoved me in the closet, they locked me in, and they shot my husband.
Interesting.
So the police also think it's interesting. The police are also like, this doesn't feel right. Something about this doesn't feel right. However, Dolly was locked in a closet.
Right.
She can't have locked herself in a closet.
Yeah, that would be impressive.
She can't have shot him from locked in a closet, right?
Right.
So they start looking into it, but the trail starts to go cold. Mm-hmm. So now we're going to back up.
Of course.
Of course we are.
Typical Hannah fashion. Rewind.
Yeah, we're going to Quentin Tarantino this and take it in all kinds of chronology.
Yeah.
So Dolly is born in 1880 in Germany. Her maiden name was Korschel. Not that it's like super important, but she was born Walburga Korschel.
Wow. I've never heard that name before.
I hadn't either, and all I can think of is like the Wahlberg family.
Yeah.
Like Mark Wahlberg Oesterreich.
Right.
But everybody called her Dolly because Walburga is
a lot.
Quite a name.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I don't know when she married Fred, but she did. Fred was a wealthy owner of a textile factory. It made a lot of women's clothing, but mainly aprons. And that was in Milwaukee,
Nice.
Wisconsin. So, yeah.
Far from LA.
Just hanging out in Milwaukee, being an apron baron.
Yeah.
First slide is Dolly and Fred. So, Dolly is honestly, like, kind of pretty.
Yeah.
And Fred is not.
He reminds me of Augustus Gloop.
Yes. Yes,
Honestly,
he does. Yes,
like,
he does.
I think it's the head shape.
He's got like a very round, mushy head shape. The man looks a little mushy.
Yeah, a little bit.
So,
Especially with that little tiny hat.
I know, like, his hat is so small, and it's like he went in to get a boater and was like, yes, I would like to get a boater, please. And they were like, okay, well, we only have the smallest size. And he was like, oh.
It, like, literally only fits on the crown of his head.
That will not fit on my big head, but I will get it anyway. That accent is somewhere between Swedish and Russian. Yeah. I'm going somewhere.
It was something.
So Fred is really wealthy he's really wealthy because of owning this factory making all these aprons. But he worked like almost constantly. He was constantly working, and he was a harsh man. He had all these women that worked for him, and he would go through the factory and basically yell at anybody that he thought wasn't doing their job as good as they could be doing. And they were all, like I said before, they were all women almost exclusively. Right. And so Dolly would, by like certain accounts, Dolly would just follow him around through the factory, and he would yell at people, and then Dolly would like console them.
Jeez.
Yeah. I don't know when she stopped doing that, because at some point she's just home alone all the time because he's working. And when he is home, he's sloshed. This guy was a heavy drinker.
Yeah.
So he was either constantly tired from working, or sloshed. This caused a little bit of strife in their marriage, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
In the autumn of 1913, Dolly called Fred at the factory and told him that her sewing machine had broken.
Okay.
So Fred said, don't worry, I'm going to send over a repairman that works for me at the factory.
Sure.
And she's like, tight.
Right. Dope.
Gonna get my quote unquote sewing machine fixed. When 17-year-old Otto Sandhuber arrived at the Oestrreich house, 33-year-old Dolly was there. Wearing a silk robe, stockings, heavy perfume, and nothing else.
My goodness. Is this why you couldn't resist this one?
No, you'll just wait. When I tell you, we're going to get into it real soon, but when I tell you what happens, you're going to be like, not again.
Oh, no. I'm scared.
Don't be. Sandhuber was slight and was described as owlish. So I can see it in his pictures. If you go to the next slide, there is him. This is not him.
Goodness.
This is not him at 17, obviously.
Yeah, but he absolutely looks like the Tootsie Pop owl.
He does. How many licks to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop?
Yeah.
Let's find out. When I read that, I was like, slight and owlish. If I describe someone as owlish, you know this. They'd be horrific looking.
Yeah, because you hate birds.
I hate birds, especially owls.
When you first said that, I'm like, what? Can he turn his head all the way around? But now that I've seen the picture, I'm like, oh yeah, he does.
He has a bit of a beak, and he wears those little round glasses that aren't helping his case.
Right.
He's a very little skinny, little slip of a man.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, other than, like, if it weren't for his nose, which isn't that big, honestly.
It's not that it's big, but it's pointy.
It's very pointy. Right.
He's got those thin little lips. He's very owlish.
Yeah.
So he's 17 years old, And he's confronted with this domineering sexual woman who is wearing a silk robe, stockings, perfume, and nothing else.
Right.
He's immediately attracted to her. And they start an affair, like, right away.
Oh, God.
I don't even know if her sewing machine was broken.
Yeah, probably not. Well, here's the thing. If it was not the first call, then I'd be like, oh no, it definitely wasn't broken this time. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or she just already knew who the repairman at the factory was.
Exactly. So some things I've read said that she was aware of him.
Yeah.
Some accounts put their first meeting with the broken sewing machine, like, in the factory. But everything else I've read says she called Fred and said, my sewing machine is broken. And he said, I'm going to send over Lil Otto.
Maybe she didn't even care who the repairman was.
So, yeah, from what I can tell, she had a high libido. And her husband was either drunk, tired, or working.
Yeah.
So she got herself a little Tootsie Pop owl. She wanted to know how many licks it took to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop.
That's right.
Wink.
Ugh.
Yeah, I felt yucky
Gross.
as soon as I said it.
Yeah.
So at first, they meet in hotels, like standard run-of-the-mill affair.
Oh, yeah.
They're meeting in these hotels. Some things say it was like a boarding house that she owned, but again, details are sketchy because it's from the 1900s, early 1900s. But they first started meeting in hotels, but that soon became, one thing I read said that soon became, quote, burdensome.
Oh,
and I was
poor
like,
Dolly.
I was like, burdensome how? Like, money-wise? Like, I have to leave the house? Yeah.
Like, I gotta put a bra on and go out.
I gotta put actual clothes on. I can't just wear a silk robe and nothing else.
Right. That's burdensome to me.
Yeah, honestly, I feel it. I feel that in my heart. So meeting in hotels becomes burdensome. So she starts inviting Otto to come to the Oestrreich home instead. Mm-hmm. Obviously, because neighbors are nebby.
Well, yeah.
They started noticing that every day when Fred leaves, this little owl of a man comes over. He was working too, so I don't know, like, if he was just coming on his days off or what the deal was, but they noticed that he's coming frequently, and he's coming when Fred isn't there. And so some sources say they told Fred, and some say they didn't, but they asked Dolly about it. Mm-hmm. And she told them that Otto was her vagabond half-brother.
Ew.
Like, no, don't worry about him. He's just my half-brother, who's a vagabond. I have to put that on top of it, because I'm not... Let me Google that, because, like, I'm pretty sure I know what a vagabond is. Like a transient. Yeah. A person who wanders from place to place without a home or job.
Right.
So, yeah, a transient.
Yeah, exactly.
He's
transient or hobo or whatever.
He's just my old transient half-brother.
Also, like, she must be fairly confident that they're not going to then bring it up again with Otto. Be like, oh, how's your half-brother-in-law?
Oh, with Fred, yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry, with Fred.
That's okay.
Otto's the victim, my bad. Right?
No,
I'm all mixed up.
No. Okay. Fred ends up dead. She is having an affair with Otto. Otto is the Tootsie Pop owl.
Oh, okay. My bad. See, I got the names mixed up from the first slide. So she must be fairly confident then that the neighbors are not going to bring this up with Fred. Like, hey, how's your,
vagabond half-brother-in-law?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Half-brother-law.
You don't... Maybe she was like, don't bring it up with Fred because he doesn't like him, which is why he comes over when no one's here.
Maybe.
That's
plausible.
I just thought of a way for you to remember it. Fred rhymes with dead. And Fred ends up dead. Otto starts with an O, just like owl.
Yes. See, you know that we cannot trust my ADD brain.
No.
Like, keeping names straight is honestly such a hard thing for me.
It's okay. I've just made you a little mnemonic.
Yeah.
And we're going to hack your brain. It's fine.
It'll help. Yeah.
That's okay, because on days where I have bad, like, brain fog, ME brain, I have to sometimes re-record parts for myself where I've said entire quotes with just, like, the wrong words in them.
Oh, yeah.
It's a whole thing.
So I was just like, okay, I'm just going to re-say this sentence and trust in Hannah.
That's fine. Fred rhymes with dead. Dead Fred. And Otto the owl.
Otto is the owl man.
Perfect. They couldn't have done this better if they tried.
Seriously, I appreciate it.
So to avoid suspicion, or to help sort of belay suspicion, Dolly suggests to Otto, I'm sorry, this is so stupid.
I'm ready. Lay it on me.
Dolly suggests to Otto that he should quit his job.
Oh, no.
And move into the Oestrreich's attic.
Now I see what this is similar to. So, first we have the Spider-Man. Now we have the Owl Man.
Lodge that in your brain. Just keep it in there. Remember that we had a Spider-Man.
Okay.
And just remember that. Just chew on it for the episode.
Okay.
So, I don't know about you, but if my mistress, I guess he's the mistress.
Yeah.
But if the married woman I was sleeping with said, quit your job and come live in my attic, I would be like,
hard pass.
Hey, bud, no thanks.
Yeah.
Like,
but how old is he even at this
17.
Point?
Yeah,
he's still 17.
Young. He's young. He doesn't even know. First of all,
not that much time has passed yet.
No.
Then.
Okay.
No.
So, first of all, he didn't know if when he met her he was 16 or 17.
Oh. Wait.
Not like in looking back, like when he tells the story,
he
is like
recall exactly.
Yeah, it's.
I see.
But also,
I was like thinking he didn't know when his birthday was.
Well, it's for instance, my birthday is coming up very soon, and I'm 27, but I keep referring to myself as 28 because I will be 28 very soon.
Right.
But then when people ask how old I am, I'm like,
Oh yeah,
I don't remember because I call myself 4 different ages.
I wish I had been born on a round year.
Oh God, me too.
That would be helpful. With
I always refer to myself as either 28, so the year ahead of what I am, or I just round it off and say 30.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so if it's like
just a 32-year-old lady.
Exactly. If it's me and a bunch of other people who are around the age of 30, I just sort of take the mean of that and we're just 30.
I still feel like we're 22 and in college, so like nothing matters.
I wish.
I know, I do too.
Okay. So Otto. Sweet idiot Otto.
Sweet little owl boy.
A gentle moron. He agrees and he says, cool, I'm going to use my newfound spare time to pursue my dream of writing pulp fiction novels. He's like...
He's so young.
I know, but he's all of us at the beginning of quarantine when we were like, oh, I can use all this time to learn how to bake bread.
Yeah, right. And it's like, good luck even finding the yeast, bro.
Right? Good luck. You live in an attic now, idiot.
I found yeast at my store and I went crazy. I bought like 5 packages.
As soon as yeast was available, I stocked up again. I bought a bunch.
Yeah. Anyway. Because
you and I don't want to be that guy, but...
Do it.
During quarantine, everybody was like, I'm going to learn how to bake bread. I'm going to buy all this yeast. And then, or I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to get bread, so I'm going to make it and steal all the yeast. And then people like us who like routinely bake and make bread.
Yeah.
We're just out of luck. No yeast.
When we went on vacation, Scott wanted to make pepperoni rolls for the family because if you are not familiar, pepperoni rolls are a big deal in West Virginia, like super big deal. And I was going to buy some from the farmer's market and he was like, no, mine are going to be better. Like, let me just make them. I'm like, cool, dope. I go shopping, no yeast. I had to call my mom up and be like, do you have yeast? Like, can you bring yeast to the beach so that we can make pepperoni roll? And she did, thank God. She brought me yeast or else we wouldn't have been able to do it. I'm like, I just want my pepperoni roll. That's all I want. They were so good too. Oh.
I'm sure. And I'm just so salty about it. Like, quit buying all the yeast, dang it. Bread never went out. Bread was never hard to find here.
And you create a false shortage.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So it's like you can't find it on the shelf, but there's not like a real shortage of it.
So now that we've had our tangent about yeast, back to Otto Sanhuber.
Yeah.
And Dolly. So during the day, Sanhuber would make beds, do the housework, and make bathtub gin.
I mean, what else are you gonna do?
Also, he would sleep with Dolly.
Right.
So those were like his 4 duties, I guess. Next slide is the house in Milwaukee. And then the picture on the right is the owner at the time of this picture. The owner of the house you had to go into a closet, and then she is pointing at the entrance to how you would get into the attic. So that's their big Milwaukee house, and the closet that you would have to go into to get into the attic hole.
Okay.
So this is not like a secret thing. Like, the attic isn't secret.
Right.
Not like the Spider-Man case.
Not like the 11-inch, was it 11, 14-inch
it was
square box?
Yeah, it was like 8.5 by 11.
Ridiculous.
It was, because I remember it being it was like 8.5 by 12 or something. It was very similar to a piece of printer
sheet
paper.
Of paper. Yeah. But I mean, think about it. I mean, I have a storage room. I can count on one hand how many times I go in there in a month. You know, and the only reason I do is because like our printer and stuff is in there.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I find less like I think the Spider-Man story is so yucky, and the reason is because no one knew he was in there. But like Dolly invited him in there, so this is a little less yucky. But still, Fred had no clue. I still can't get over the freaking bathtub gin. Kills me. Like, I don't know.
In my head, I'm thinking like, was Dolly keeping up with all these things beforehand, or is Fred just coming home and being like, wow, Dolly, you've been doing so much more stuff, and fresh gin, incredible.
My favorite.
Right?
I love it. It tastes just like a pine cone. So he did all that during the day, and in the evenings, when Fred would come home, he would go back into his little hidey hole. I don't know if he ever described it as a nest, like Ted did, but
I hope not.
That, again, so yucky. But he would go back into the attic. He would read murder mysteries by candlelight and write.
Hopefully use a toilet.
He had access to the house.
Thank God.
I will tell you, there are no buckets of human offal in this one.
Good.
He would read murder mysteries by candlelight, write his pulp novels, which I believe he just wrote them by hand, like in a notebook, because later he gets a typewriter, but he writes them, and they are described as being full of adventure, romance, and lust, just like a pulp novel is.
Right.
When I read that, I was like, oh, good, so he was like on track.
Yeah.
Be like, he wrote science fiction books about robots and dinosaurs and space, and you'd be like, yeah, that's what those are.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that the newspapers and the articles and stuff are trying to make it even more like sensationalized. They're like, not only
writing of lust, and
he's got these lusty books, and he's basically like his only function is sex, housework, and bathtub gin. And
freaky fan fiction.
Or
like friend fiction. Maybe it's about Dolly.
He's Tina Belcher writing erotic friend fiction. So,
sorry.
It's okay. So 5 years pass. Everything's fine. They've gotten into a routine.
5 years.
5 years.
Oh my God.
But think about it though. Fred's not home. And when he is, he's drunk or tired. Like, he has no clue that anything is going on because he's drunk and apparently an idiot. But 5 years go past and everything's going swimmingly until 1918, when Fred expresses the desire to Dolly that they should sell the house in Milwaukee and move to Los Angeles.
Oh no, tricky.
Yeah. So what's she gonna do with her attic boy?
Right.
I'll tell you what she does. She says, yes, absolutely. Let's go. Let's move out. Because, of course, if you are given the choice to be either in Milwaukee or Los Angeles.
Yeah.
No
fair.
offense to those in Milwaukee. No offense to the state of Wisconsin, but like, come on. She says, yes, let's go. Let's go to Los Angeles. But I have one condition. Our new home must have an attic.
Not sus at all.
But the weirdest thing was, she's like, it has to have an attic, which was like a rarity in those days in LA. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of houses had attics. So Fred agrees because he's like, whatever, maybe she wants to store her Christmas decorations up there or something. And they chose the house. So the next slide here is the house, and the source that I got this from drew out like a cutaway so you can see where the attic is. He's like in the gable of the house.
Is it only that big?
I'm not sure how big it is. I don't think it's a Ted situation where it's a house coffin, but it is like an attic in a gable.
Okay.
So it has to have an attic. They find a house with an attic. It overlooks Sunset Boulevard.
Ooh.
Beautiful.
It's
idyllic.
pretty, but it's so much smaller.
It is, but you're trading
like
up.
Easily half the size, if not less.
And your neighbors are so much closer.
Mm-hmm.
They're close enough to hear a gunshot and report it to police.
Yeah.
So then you have a house with an attic, but how do you get your attic lover boy into this new attic? How do you install him in the new attic?
You buy him a separate train ticket. You get him first. You have to get him a hotel room for like a night or two, right? Because like moving, unpacking, packing in the house and everything. So you got to get him a hotel room. You're shaking your head no.
Just
but I'm
tell me what
finish
you
this.
think. Please do.
Okay, hotel room, train ticket. He arrives while Frank is at work.
Fred rhymes with dead.
I knew it was an F word. Anyways, Fred is at work.
Dead Fred.
And then dead Fred, right. So Fred's at work, and then that's it.
You send him ahead of you to install himself in the attic, and then when you get there, he'll already be there.
That seems really stupid.
That's what she does, and it works.
It works?
It works. Remember, this is 1918. The murder doesn't happen until 1922.
Well, yeah, but maybe dead Fred didn't install anything, or not install, but unpack. Because I don't think he did. They would have put something in the attic, like he would have inspected it or something.
I don't think he did.
He just doesn't care. He's just drunk and
he's got a bunch of money. So I want to stress this. He had like millions of dollars. I don't think he was like humping boxes.
I got it. See,
I think
I'm too poor. I don't understand how the millionaires work.
Can't relate.
No.
But you're right. Like, did movers not go to the attic and be like, oh,
who are you?
Who are you? Right? So maybe
no, he told the movers that he was just her transient half brother.
Perhaps her vagabond half brother.
Sorry, vagabond.
I like the word transient better. Yeah. I don't know how he went unnoticed, but somehow he gets through it.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the kind of thing where they had their stuff sent ahead too. So like when they got there, everything was unpacked and there where it needed to go.
It's very possible.
It's very fancy and rich person thing to do. Maybe they got all new stuff.
Oh yeah, maybe.
I know someone who moved from Pennsylvania to California and just got rid of all his stuff and bought brand new stuff when he got there.
Ugh.
Also can't relate, don't have that much money.
Yeah, I know people who have done that with like furniture if it's a big move.
This was
but not with like everything.
No, this was like, I'm getting new bed sheets and everything, and I was like, that's dumb, but whatever.
Yeah, can't relate.
So 4 more years pass. If you thought like, I don't get it either, but basically a decade goes by without Fred having any idea that this man is in his attic in 2 different states.
Well, I mean, I just imagine he was just that drunk. All
Or
the
that
time.
not there.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he also had a mistress. Like, who knows? I don't know.
I don't either. That's true. And I don't know what his job was once they moved to Los Angeles. If his job was just having a bunch of money.
Yeah, just being like, I own this company in Milwaukee and I
Yeah.
make money and do nothing.
Yeah.
I hired a manager and now I'm here.
So everything goes by, 4 more years pass in basically the same fashion as their time spent in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
Until August 22nd, 1922, which is where we began our story. So Dolly and Fred were known to argue quite a bit,
Yeah.
and they argued really loud. But on this specific occasion, Otto, who would have been like 27 or 28 at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and he has spent a decade knowing nothing but, I live in an attic, I do chores, I make gin, and I sleep with this woman who is now like 46.
I mean, he must go out during the day, right?
I don't think so, because he couldn't
Really?
he couldn't be seen coming and going from the house. That was the whole point.
Jeez.
It was the whole point of him living in the attic, was that all he does is basically sleep with Dolly, write pulp novels, do the housework, and make good gin to appease dead Fred, I guess, the alcoholic.
I feel bad for him.
I do too. But on this occasion, he fears for her life. Apparently, whatever Fred is doing or saying, Otto took that to mean that Dolly was in some sort of danger.
Okay.
So he descended from the attic, brandishing 2 .25 caliber pistols.
Okay.
It's like .25. So I'm not sure what that is called in like ballistics terms. But
I assume just a 25.
that's what I thought too. But
yeah, I don't know.
these
But
two-
that's what I assume.
2 pistols, basically. Like some sort of cartoon cowboy. Like Yosemite
Yeah.
Sam's his way out of the attic.
Yeah.
Fred recognizes him from the factory because he's a good boss, I guess. There are people I worked with 10 years ago that I would not know if I tripped over them.
No, not in like, no, definitely not.
But he's like, you're the 17-year-old repairman that worked for me and I sent to my wife to fix her sewing machine and then you never came back.
Right?
I think he did work a little bit between that, but basically.
Yeah.
So Fred is understandably like shocked and real mad.
Yeah.
He probably also was drunk. So the two are fighting and there are these guns. Like we always say, only one side of this story ever gets to be told.
Mm-hmm.
But according to those that survived the encounter, the guns went off.
Great use of the passive voice again.
Yes. The guns went off as guns
Happened
don't.
to do.
They do not usually do. But either like a trigger got pulled by accident or the shooting was deliberate, whatever. Fred gets shot 3 times.
Total accident.
2 guns, though. So at least 2 of those were a mistake, apparently.
Okay.
And Fred dies. That's how we remember Fred, because he is
Dead
dead Fred. So panicking, the two think of a story. And they stage the scene to look like a botched robbery. Robbery gone wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Otto takes Fred's diamond watch and hides it, stuffs Dolly into the closet, locks it, and tosses the key away. Then he returns to the attic,
Oh my
hoping or knowing that Nebby neighbors are going to hear this and report it. He slinks back into the attic. So
Jeez.
just like we started with, the police arrive and they free Dolly from the closet. She tells her story of this robbery gone wrong, starts listing off items that they took that are expensive.
Right.
And the police don't really buy this. But like I said, they didn't really have a way to explain how she would have killed him from inside of a closet or how she would have locked herself into a closet. So she gets released. So Dolly's now a widow. She receives all of Fred's millions of dollars, all his apron money. And the first thing she does with it is she moves to another house, which is totally fine, totally understandable. Like we said in the past, I think it's totally understandable to move to a different place if a traumatic event has happened in that place, like a death
Yeah.
So from the outside, right, your husband has died here, let's move to a new house. And so you would think, right, she doesn't have a husband anymore, and she's in a new neighborhood. So she and Otto should be able to carry on
Uninhibited,
uninterrupted, whatever.
Right.
They can carry on in the open.
Scot-free.
No Scott here. So Otto came with her to this other house and takes up in the attic again.
Why?
I have in my notes, for some reason. I don't know. I really don't know. Other than like, no, I'm an attic boy.
This
like,
guy.
I don't know. I don't know if she was like, oh no, you're going in the attic. Or if he was like, of course I'm going in the attic. I'm an attic boy. That's what I do. I am the attic boy.
Well, you said it was rare for houses in LA to have attics, too.
Well, she found an attic house just for her little attic boy.
That's so weird.
She stashed him up there like a little elf on a shelf, only to come out when no one was home. But there was nobody to, like, hide from anymore.
I mean, unless she was just concerned with her image, you know, like, oh, she took up a boyfriend so soon or something like that. You know what I mean?
Funny you should say that.
Oh, boy.
So I was going to say there was nobody to hide from, except the lawyer who was settling Fred's estate was named Herman S. Shapiro. And Dolly took up with him, like, right away. I'm sorry. So it gets worse.
Oh, my God.
She takes up with Herman Shapiro, and she gives him, as a present for her new lover...
No, not the watch.
A diamond watch. A diamond
Oh,
watch.
no.
So, remember, though, he's the lawyer who is settling the estate. So Shapiro is like, hey, this is Fred's watch that got stolen when he got shot in the botched robbery.
She's so stupid.
Oh, no. She lies her way out of it. She says, yeah, that is his, but after the robbery, I found it under a seat cushion in the house, and I didn't think that it was important enough to tell, like, the police about. And he's just like, okay. All right. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. He...
I mean, I think I would believe it, too, if I was in his position.
I just think that he was just like, wow, this lady has a lot of money, and now I have a diamond watch. Like, I don't know. But again, but he also doesn't know there's a man living in the attic. But he doesn't live there. And just like Fred, dead Fred, Herman Shapiro also worked very long hours. Because he was a lawyer. He had got lawyer things to do.
Right.
So what is a girl to do when her main flame isn't around for sex, right? You would think you would do what any normal person would do and go to your attic boy, right?
Please never say that again.
Well, regardless of how many times you want me to say it or not, she doesn't go to her attic boy. I think she is still sleeping with him, but she takes another lover.
A third one?
So now she has 3. Only one is living in the attic.
She must have just felt so liberated by Fred being gone that she was like, I can do whatever I want now.
Except let Otto out of the attic.
Yeah, that's the only thing. No, that's where she wants him. Clearly.
He's the attic boy.
I feel, seriously, I know I said it before, but I feel so bad for him.
Yeah, I do too. I will say, though, at this point, Otto has sold some of his pulp novels to magazines, and he took that money and some money that he had been, like, allowanced by Dolly, and he bought himself a typewriter. Okay. So now he's in the attic just plugging away at those pulps. I
just see it as he was a groomed, manipulated teenager.
Absolutely was.
And then was deprived of all human interaction for a decade.
Except for Dolly.
Except for
Mark Wahlberg.
Ugh. That's just sad.
Yeah, and it sucks because he gets into this at 16 or 17.
Yeah.
When you're just an idiot and full of hormones anyway.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, I'll live in your attic.
What? Live in your attic, make gin, and just have sex? You got it.
And pursue my dream of writing Pulp Fiction.
Right, right.
The hit the hit movie Pulp Fiction. That's right. Otto Sanhuber changed his name in later years to Quentin Tarantino. That's not true.
No, it's
Quentin
not.
Tarantino doesn't look owlish enough.
Mm-mm.
He is some sort of bird, though. I saw that TikTok that's like everyone is either some sort of rodent or some sort of bird.
Yeah.
And it's like the examples are like Adam Driver is a rat and Ariana Grande is a bird, specifically a finch. And like Danny DeVito is a gopher.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. So in that scheme of things, Quentin Tarantino is some sort of bird, but I don't like birds enough to research into which one he is. And by I don't like birds enough, I'd like to reiterate, I do not like birds at all. Yuck. They're just,
I love birds.
they know too much. I don't like them.
The birds work for the bourgeoisie.
That exactly. I want one of their
know.
shirts badly. Let me find my place again. I'm so off topic.
Sorry.
It's okay. So we're on to Dolly's third lover at once. He is a businessman named Roy Klum. What a name. Klum. Yeah, when I read his name, I was like, Roy Klum. And then I read that he was a businessman, and I was like, no, he's a plumber. Like, that's not a businessman name.
Yeah.
So everyone in this story is so stupid. She says to Klum, I think her story was like, I was cleaning the house or something, and I found this gun that belonged to my dead husband. And I don't want it in the house because it reminds me of the weapons that were used by the burglars that shot my dead husband. Can you get rid of it for me? And so Roy, helpful Roy.
My love, I would do anything for you.
Right? This woman must be great in bed.
For real, she better be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't mean this in a bad way, but she's well practiced.
Yes.
He says, yes, I will dispose of this for you. And he tosses it into the La Brea tar pits.
I mean, if you don't want it to be found.
It's either that or the Devil's Slide in San Mateo.
Yeah.
He tosses it into the La Brea tar pits. She then takes, because remember, there wasn't just one gun.
Right.
She takes the other gun and I think tells a similar story, some sort of sob story, to her neighbor who buried it. He took it and he buried it under a rose bush in his backyard.
Why are we disposing of guns in this fashion in the 20s?
Because it was the 20s. There were no rules. Just right, Outback Steakhouse.
Okay.
That's how it is.
Okay. It totally makes sense. Duh.
But
Oh
remember in the McMonagall story, he buried the bullet. We said it was to grow a gun tree.
Yes.
So anytime, like, yeah, he buried it under a rose bush, which is going to be really hard for his gun tree to grow because there's already a rose bush there.
Right?
And everybody knows roses have the worst roots. They're so hard to get out of the ground. So you're never going to get a gun tree that way.
Yeah. Oh,
So-
my God.
I know. I hate everyone in this story. You're so
It's so
stupid.
bad.
You're so dumb. Get a brain.
It's very entertaining. Don't get me
it
wrong.
is.
But everything, I'm just like, why?
Yeah.
Why did you do it that way?
You know I love our neighbor Debbie.
Uh-huh.
If Debbie came to me and said, listen, I found this gun in my house and it reminds me of the gun that the burglars who shot my dead husband used to shoot my dead husband. Can you please bury it under a rose bush in your backyard? I'd be like, no, Debbie, that's not how you do that.
Yeah.
Like, sell it or something if you want to get rid
Right.
of it. Don't like, I want it to no longer exist. I want it to
Yeah.
blink out of existence. Everything was going fine. Everything was great. Until detectives who were apparently like seeing Herman Shapiro, the lawyer, I guess, frequently enough to notice his watch. His diamond watch. That everybody has one of those a diamond watch, right? So they noticed this watch, and then on top of that, Dolly and Roy Klum had stopped seeing one another at this point. And Klum was like, hey, the police, I threw a gun into the La Brea tar pits for this woman.
Oh
Should
my
I have
God.
done that?
And the police were like, yeah, bro, you're cool.
Yeah, everything's fine. What are you talking about?
Everything's
So,
totally fine. And
don't worry about it, Roy.
everything's legal in LA.
Right. Don't worry about it, Roy. Go back to installing that sink.
Yeah.
So they fished the gun out of the tar pits. And of course the story is all over the newspapers because I can't imagine that was an easy endeavor.
Yeah.
And the press were probably like, hey, police, what are you doing in the La Brea tar pits? So the story's all over the newspapers, and prompted by that, the neighbor also turned in his gun that he had buried. So it's like Roy Klum and this neighbor have like BFF necklaces, but it's just this matching set of guns.
He's really not going to grow a gun tree now.
I know.
Dug
You
it
can't
up.
dig up your gun. Well, maybe it's like dahlias. You have to dig it up in the fall or they'll rot.
Right, maybe.
How to grow a gun tree with this random neighbor.
Oh my God.
It's so stupid.
It is.
So he turns in his gun, and that's how they knew they were twins.
Your gun matches my gun. It's like matching birthmarks.
I was going to say it's like the secret garden when Mary finds the little elephants and is like, oh, it looks like my mom's little elephant. They were twins.
Yep.
Unfortunately, the weapons were too corroded to be of any like discernible use, right?
Yeah.
Also, I forgot this part because I didn't write it down, but I just remembered it. When they like autopsied Fred Oestrreich, they said that apparently a .25 caliber weapon is like kind of small. It's like kind of dainty. And they were like, that's too dainty of a weapon for any like robbers to feasibly want to use. I don't know if I follow that logic. I don't know if that's just like 1920s machismo talking.
Probably, because like a gun's a gun's a gun.
No self-respecting robber would ever use this lady gun.
Yeah, where's the AR?
This is a lady gun. It's pink.
Call Al Capone, see what he's got on lock.
Yeah, use a Thompson submachine gun.
Yeah.
Not a lady gun like this.
What a wussy robber.
They don't know that he came out brandishing two of them like a cartoon cowboy. He jumped out of the attic with his 6-shooters.
Right.
Yeah, so back to this. They're too corroded from being in tar pits / struggling to become a gun tree.
Which is honestly like the smartest thing that's happened so far.
Yeah. So the police still take Dolly into custody because they're like, this is getting too weird.
Yeah.
Too strange. Especially because these people can say, like, okay, you can't prove that these guns are the guns that killed him, but like, she told us to get rid of them. And if you remember from last episode, I explained circumstantial evidence.
Yes.
This is what this would be, is circumstantial.
absolutely.
She had them dispose of guns.
But we can't prove that they are the guns.
Yes. Even though they didn't know there were 2 of them. But
But also, in her defense, she told them they are similar to the ones used, therefore they remind me of.
That's true. Detective Liz is back on the case.
I got it.
I love when Detective Liz comes out.
Hey.
I love when she joins us for the program.
I know. Sometimes the details stick up in the old brain up here.
That's true. The names don't, but the details do.
Yeah, exactly. It's true, though. It's weird, but that's how the brain works.
Mm-hmm. So
Does what it wants.
police take Dolly into custody, and she is dating Herman Shapiro, who is a lawyer. So she sees Shapiro, and she's like, try to get me out of jail, but also, please don't be mad. There is a man living in my attic.
No.
I've now been arrested. I need you to go to my house, tap, tap, tap on the attic door.
Knock 3 times on the ceiling if you want me.
Yeah, twice on the pipes if it's okay to come out.
Like, was that song written about Dolly?
Yeah, I think.
Oh my god.
Go tap on the attic door and tell him that it's okay to come out, and also please bring him some food.
Well, yeah.
Which he wasn't like locked in the attic, but I'm sure he was like, Dolly's been arrested. I'm not sure if I'm like able to like freely wander the house.
Yeah.
Who's gonna look after my gin?
I know.
I assume it needs some sort of babysitting. I've never made
I don't
hooch
know.
before? Is it still hooch if it's gin?
I don't know.
So she does not tell Shapiro, though, this is my lover, my attic boy. She tells him, again, this is my vagabond half-brother.
Yeah, right.
My vagabond half-brother is living in my attic, even though she probably had a guest room.
I'm sure.
Whatever. He does it. He goes over. He's not going to let Otto just like rot in the attic. So he goes over and he gets Otto out. And this is so sad. He's basically starved for attention, like starved for conversation.
Yeah.
He's like, I have not spoken to anyone but Dolly in
10 years.
10 years. Yeah. One thing said, starved for conversation with another male. He like hadn't even seen a man. Mm-hmm. He basically tells Shapiro everything about the relationship.
Oh, wow.
He's like, listen, I've been her attic boy for the last 10 years. Totally normal thing. This is what's been going on. And Shapiro is like, hey, buddy, you need to get out of this house, please.
Yeah.
So he kicks him out and Otto leaves and Shapiro moves into the house with Dolly because he got her released on bail.
Wait a second.
It wasn't a deal breaker.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it sure as heck seems like he was just like, no, Dolly is mine. Get out.
Yeah. Like, he was like, listen here, attic boy. Get lost so I can move in with this woman who I now know has been keeping an attic boy for 10 years.
For a decade.
And I'm still cool with it.
Oh my God.
I don't know, man. I have no answers.
Side note, did Dolly and Fred, did they have kids?
I think they had one kid, but he had died before Otto happened.
I just wanted to, like, because...
There's no way you're hiding an attic boy from your kids.
No.
Mm-mm.
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay. I just wanted to know for background. Okay.
Yeah. One, but dead, I think.
What the actual heck?
Yeah. I can't imagine your girlfriend who has given you the watch from her dead husband who died under suspicious circumstances.
Yeah.
Now you know that she has kept a lover in the attic across 2 states.
For a decade.
And you're just like, well, you gotta go, but I'm gonna move in. Also, very progressive because it's like in the 30s now, and they're living together but not married. Living in sin is what my grandmother would call it.
That's like literally the least crazy part of the story, though.
But it just is notable.
Yeah.
So he gets her released on bail. He moves in, and the charges against Dolly were dropped because there was nothing but circumstantial evidence. They didn't think they could bring it to court.
Yeah. They did a really good job covering that up.
Yeah. Accidentally. Like, I don't think they did it well on purpose.
Yeah. Locking her in the closet really was the piece de resistance, though. That was smart.
Mm-hmm. Good thinking on Otto's part.
Mm-hmm.
The only bit of good thinking he's done.
Well, he's writing all those fiction novels. He's got to have a very creative mind.
That's true. So 7 years later, Dolly and Shapiro ended things. And Shapiro went to the police.
Oh my God.
He told them every single thing he knew about the case. And so again, they take Dolly into custody, but this time they also got Otto.
Where has he been for 7 years?
Good question. So next slide. Next slide real quick.
Flabbergasted.
I know. So this is from a newspaper magazine. Newspaper magazine? How old am I? This is from some sort of newspaper. This is the California entrance to the attic on the left. Otto on the right. Dolly at the bottom middle. And Herman Shapiro.
Hold on.
Top middle.
Herman and Otto are the same person.
Yeah.
Like Herman is literally just like 30 pounds heavier, but they literally the same.
She had a type, and the type
Clearly.
was, where's my glasses?
No, but really, like they really look very similar.
They look similar in the fact that they are white men with dark hair, round glasses, and no lips.
Pointy nose, no lips. Same hairstyle.
Honestly, if I were a man...
Yes, Hannah?
Yeah, if I were a man, I think I would be Dolly's type.
Oh my God, Hannah. You would be, but that's neither here nor there.
Round glasses, a pointy nose, dark hair, and no lips. I think I might be too fat.
Nah, I don't know. Herman looks like he's a little chonky.
Yeah, and I mean, she's portly as well, and so was Fred. Although, we know what happened to that one. Okay,
Yikes.
so you asked what Otto had been doing for 7 years.
Yeah,
Otto,
I want to know.
he found
Don't
another
tell me
attic.
he found
didn't.
another
He didn't.
attic.
He didn't. I swear he didn't. He moved to Canada, and he changed his name to Walter Klein,
Okay.
and he had even gotten married.
Good for him.
He was 43. So, if you go to the next slide here, this is his wife, Matilda.
Wow. That first pose is just so very awkward.
So, that was them saying goodbye before he went into the grand jury.
Oh, that's why. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes a whole lot more sense with that context.
She's big sad there.
Yeah, you can tell.
But they just seem like they were having this, like, nice Canadian life.
Yeah, the middle photo's very sweet.
It is. She's
Was
just
that
there.
tomato plants that they're tending to, perhaps? Or a gun tree?
Um,
No reaction to gun tree?
Oh, gun tree. I think it's a gum tree. And I was like,
gun.
no, gun tree. Yeah, they were growing their own gun trees.
Look how
Canadian
proud
gun
of the
trees.
gun trees they are.
It's the
I'm
Canadian
sorry.
strain.
I had to. It was just perfect.
It's fine. I thought you said gum trees, and I was like, I don't think
No.
gum trees will grow in Canada.
I know. You were like real pensive about it.
I went to, well, here's the thing. I went to botanist mode
Yeah.
and was like, I don't know. It looks like it's trellising. It
See,
could be
I love-
cucumbers. You just wanted to make a joke.
I love when Botany Hannah joins the show.
We've got Detective Liz and Botanist Hannah. Botanist Hannah's always there, just under the surface.
Mm-hmm.
So we were at Ryan's D&D session yesterday, and our friend Garth plays a character who is a turtle druid.
Okay.
He's a sweet baby, and his name is Genbu. And at one point, Genbu pulled out this gourd that has been in his family a very long time. It has like sacred water in it and all these carvings. And another player, Mike, was struggling to understand what was being described. And I like perked up immediately and was like, this is literally what my degree is in. Let's talk about gourds and how they
Last
can
night-
be used as vessels.
Last night we were visiting with Scott's dad and we were talking about sleep talking. So
Oh, God.
of course Scott had to tell his dad about the time you were sleep talking about gardening and explaining the difference between squash and gourds in your sleep.
Listen, some things some rivers run deep. Otto and Matilda are living in Canada. They are growing their own Canadian gun trees. And he is brought up on a murder charge in Los Angeles. I know. And so he and Dolly, he's brought up on a murder charge. Dolly is brought up on a conspiracy charge.
Okay.
So the defense claimed that Otto was imprisoned and enslaved by Dolly, basically.
Yeah.
Which I think is a very valid self-defense.
Yeah, I mean, it's textbook Stockholm.
Absolutely, yeah. Mm-hmm. You're right in saying that he was groomed.
He was
for
a
this.
teenager.
Yes.
Like, I think of myself at 16, and I would still be living in her attic at this right now.
Yeah, you would
Like,
have.
that's grooming.
You wouldn't, because Herman Shapiro would have told you to leave.
Not yet. I got one more year.
Oh, that's right. When you're,
know.
I thought you just meant like at this point in the story, not at this point in your life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
at this point in my life.
You wouldn't even have killed Fred yet.
Mm-mm.
I would be right in the process of killing Fred.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so they say basically that he was a sex slave. He was enslaved by her.
Yeah.
Which, of course, gets like mad attention in the press.
Well, because a man being a victim of a sex crime.
Well, just the fact that it was a sex slave.
Yeah.
Like, this is straight out of a pulp novel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you remember I told you that this is very similar to Ted
Yes.
and the Denver Spider-Man.
Right. Exactly.
The press got a hold of this because it was so juicy.
Of
and
course.
so, like, everyone, it had that scandal and that sex slave aspect to it. The press dubbed him the Los Angeles Batman.
Oh. I mean...
Because he was like, she had him in like a cave, like a bat.
I mean, honestly, I think bat in the attic makes more sense than spider in the attic to me. Well, I'm here for it.
The Spider-Man it was a hole that only like a spider could have gotten into.
Yeah, that's true.
He is a bat. He was also called the ghost in the garret.
Oh. Yeah, bat in the attic is way better.
I just thought it was hilarious that we have two secret house guests and they're Batman and Spider-Man. Yeah. Next week we'll be talking about somebody who lives in a basement and his name is the Flash.
Don't walk us in for that.
That's insane. And I just knew you would love that.
That's pretty good. The memes from the press are always the best.
No. Now I feel like I have to find somebody who has a crap name.
Okay. Do it.
This is my new... Don't lock me into that.
Yeah.
So nonetheless, the jury found Otto guilty of manslaughter. So not murder, but manslaughter. But good news, it was 1 year past the statute of limitations.
Oh, okay.
So he didn't have to serve any time.
The thing is, like, he definitely without a doubt did it, but I do have like so much sympathy for him in this case that I'm glad.
Especially because if the story is true that there was arguing and that he killed him because he feared for her life, then that was self-defense. He came to her aid. Right. If Dolly somehow like convinced him to kill him, I still feel bad for him.
Yeah. Yeah, because either way, he's a victim of her.
So next slide is Dolly at the time of the trial. Of her trial.
She just looks so smug.
I still think she's so pretty.
I know, but I hate that fur stole in the right photo.
It even has legs.
Yeah. Well, it's like I've seen ones like these in antique shops, and the clasp is in the animal's mouth.
Ugh.
Yeah, so like the tail, it's like eating its tail. I very much dislike it.
The thing that I noticed the most of that second picture is we talked before we turned the recording on about how I'm not wearing a bra today. And
she's definitely not.
She and I are very similar looking at the moment.
Literally anatomy wise, unless this is just her dress like bulking weirdly, her boobs are below her elbows.
Yeah. She might be like slouching.
I don't know.
Maybe she has no boobs and that's just her belly.
That's what I'm thinking. Like it could be just her dress poofing out.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I noticed.
I don't think like a very wealthy, well-to-do woman would not be wearing the appropriate support.
Just look like a grandma before bed.
Yeah.
Like when you stay with your gram and she doesn't have her teeth in, doesn't have a bra. She's in her nightie.
Look at her cute little curl on her forehead.
I know. She has that like just peeking right out of that little beret. She's so styled.
That would be, I think it's a cloche.
Oh, second picture cloche. Yes. I was talking about the first picture.
Yeah, I was talking the second one.
Yeah. I mean, in both pictures, she has the same situation.
So hats 101. The black hat is a beret. And the off-white hat is a cloche.
The more you know. So Dolly's trial, her conspiracy charge, she ended up with a hung jury. Do you know what a hung jury is?
Yeah.
Okay. For those who don't know, a hung jury is when the jury cannot decide on like a unanimous decision.
Because it has to be unanimous.
Jurors have to choose one or the other and everybody has to decide. So she gets a hung jury and instead of having like a mistrial, because that's usually what happens.
At least in 2020.
You have a mistrial and then you get new jurors and then you do the whole thing over again.
Yep, start to finish.
Her indictment just gets dropped.
I wonder, it was probably just the judge's discretion at that point.
Yeah, I don't know. So she settles down at this point. She doesn't have hundreds of lovers all over the place in her attic and wherever else.
Yeah.
She settles down and takes up with a man named Ray Hedrick. Mm-hmm. And after 30 years together, they were married in 1961. So down the next slide here, that is Dolly.
Whoa.
and that is Ray Hedrick.
Oh my gosh.
So she was 75 years old at this point.
She had to have been ill.
I think that the point of them getting married in this way was that she had been with him for 30 years, and 2 weeks after they got married, she did die. So I think it was the idea of like, we will get married, you will have all of the money that I have from my dead husband, Fred.
Basically, yeah. That had to have been it, because she looks very sick.
Yes, she does not look like herself at all. That second picture there with her and the two men, they are holding her up.
You can tell.
They had to get her a wheelchair.
Yeah.
To be done with this. But that first one, they're signing the marriage certificate.
Yeah. Wow.
So, yeah. So 2 weeks after their marriage, she died at the age of 75.
I mean, that's still a nice long life.
Mm-hmm.
But she definitely wasn't comfortable to the end.
It doesn't look like it.
No. Does it say what she died of?
No.
Despite her condition.
Just died.
Like, she still is like full scarf, full hat, looking fly.
Yeah. She is. She's not leaving the house looking bad.
She's certainly not leaving the house in a silk robe and nothing else either. So.
That's true. Yeah. I was going to say that when she settled down, she didn't have bunches of lovers in the basement, in the attic, whatever. And all I could think about was there's a Wocket in my pocket.
Oh.
Like, but it's Dolly, Oestrreich, and all of her lovers in various places.
Right.
There's an auto in my attic. And that is the story of Walburga, Dolly, Oestrreich, and Otto Sandhuber.
That is so messed up.
It is. And everyone in it is an idiot.
I want an autobiography of her life.
Well, you can't have one because she's dead.
I know, but like, I want to talk to her and be like, Dolly, what were you thinking?
Gotta get that D, I guess. That's all she was thinking, clearly.
Oh my god. Insane.
Yeah, very, but a great story. And if anybody is interested, there is an episode of A Crime to Remember about this.
Okay.
I didn't watch that one because it's part of season 4, which just went up on Hulu. Yeah. I haven't watched it, but there's A Crime to Remember.
I still have not started it. I figure probably we'll watch it together at some point.
Oh, yes.
Scott, like, won't choose true crime, but if he is, like, at his computer and I put it on, he always ends up getting invested.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, but it's not, like, our first choice usually.
Well, it is my first choice always, but that is how, when Ryan and I first started dating, he would come over and we would watch these old interviews of Barbara Walters interviewing like famous criminals. Mm-hmm. And I love her so much, which you know, I have a 16 by 20 portrait of her in my office.
That is no exaggeration.
There's no exaggeration.
Literally a portrait on the wall.
Yeah, above my computer. She looks down at me as I report these stories.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. She would be proud.
She is proud of me, I think, somewhere.
Yeah.
But that's part of how Ryan and I like bonded when we first started dating, was with Barb. Elizabeth, what are you reading? What are you recommending?
So I am reading another but different book about Italian folk magic.
Okay.
And I quite like this one. It's a bit more of like a modern take. Mm-hmm. And first of all, it's called Italian Folk Magic. And it's written by Mary Grace Fahrun. That's Fahrun. Mm-hmm. But it's like I said, it's really modern take on witchcraft, and it's a lot more like Christian inspired because it gets into the history where, like, you know, they practiced witchcraft, what they called the old religion, until the Catholics kind of took over Italy. So this is witchcraft that was kind of adapted. They adopted the saints and they adopted all that kind of stuff to be kind of in compliance, if you will, with Catholicism. But it talks about like superstitions and like little homebrewy kind of spells and stuff. It's cute. So that's what I'm reading. Yeah, and I like it because there's little anecdotes and like stories about the author's family, which is super cute.
That's
so
nice.
I sent you the one about it was like 2 paragraphs about her playing with her playing cards and her having like, oh, our uncle is coming over who lives 400 miles away, and her aunt was like, who told you that? You're crazy. That's not happening. And then like 10 minutes later he rings the doorbell. It's like cute little stories. So what about you, Hannah?
I am reading a book called The Witches of New York by Amy McKay.
Having a witch week, aren't we?
We are. Well, we're getting, like I said, we're getting into spoopy season.
Yes.
So we're getting, well, you're always reading witchy stuff, but.
Yeah, this is a new trend.
That's true. So I picked this up on a Barnes & Noble trip with Kathy.
Of course.
And I had seen it on a lot of book lists, and it seemed like something I'd be into. It takes place in 1880, and it's basically two witches that live in New York City, and they have this little tea shop where they have tea, and one of them like reads tea leaves and the other does tarot, and also the one that does tea leaves also does like herbalism and gives out remedies and things. And
that is serious friend goals right there.
I know. Basically the inciting incident is the hedge witch basically is running herself ragged. So the fortune reader, hires an assistant who has a little magic of her own. And so it's kind of a story that is really, really cool. It's very feminist. It is great. I fully intend to loan it to you and then you and then Brittany and Susan. Like I want you all to read it because it's very, very good so far.
Good, because it sounds good.
I'm about halfway through it. So that is what I am recommending. That's what I'm recommending. I'm going to give it to you guys eventually when I'm done with it. It's a quick read. It's a good read. So
it sounds good. Sounds good. It sounds nice.
It sounds good nice.
Yes.
So that's Witches of New York by Amy McKay, and Amy is spelled A-M-I.
Nice. That
Elizabeth.
sounds good. Yes, Hannah.
Where can the people find us?
You can find us across all major social media platforms as Briefcase Crimes. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. You can also find full episodes anywhere that you normally listen to your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. If you would like to support us monetarily, you can make a donation at ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/Briefcase Crimes. Or you can purchase our book recommendations on bookshop.org. Bookshop.org supports us as well as small local bookshops by giving 75% of their profits to independent bookshops, and we get 10% through our affiliate link, which is linked as well as all of the other platforms I talked about previously in our link tree in all of our bios.
Well said.
Thank you. I've been practicing.
I like it. And with that, would you like to wrap this up?
Yep. Thank you guys so much for listening.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Hold on, I have an ant on my lamp.